Hello and welcome back to the Squirrel Heat YouTube channel, and welcome to Premier League Preview Week 13. It's going to be a good week, hopefully. I'm throwing the Liverpool preview into this video as well because I'm very short on time and effort this week, I'm afraid. It's very, very sorry. It's been a very draining week at work and I'm just wanting the weekend to chill out, watch, hopefully get to watch as much football as possible. On a side note on that one, if anyone... Because Liverpool game is a 3 o'clock kickoff, if you can find me somewhere that is reliable to watch it, because it's obviously blackout in the UK for those sorts of games at 3 o'clock, if someone can send me something, that'd be most beautiful, because I'm sick of having to miss some of these games or streams kicking me out stuff. That would be most awesome if you could. First of all, though, we are going to kick off with Burnley versus Manchester City, and both teams are not in their best vein of form at the moment. Burnley looked like they were going to be starting to do well. They got victories over Everton, a draw against Man United, good victory against Palace, and then fell apart against West Brom. Man City, on the other hand, they've got victories over West Brom, Barcelona, a draw against Middlesbrough, Crystal Palace 2-1, and then they got a draw against Mönchengladbach as well in the Champions League. However, Man City... they're looking like, at the moment, they're not blowing teams away like they were at the start of the season. But, however, what that means is they're starting to grind out some results. Maybe some results where they maybe haven't necessarily deserved the win or the draw that they've gotten. And they're actually grinding them out. Crystal Palace saw the return of Yaya Toure. He got 2 goals and they got the victory. They've got now a lot. They've got so much squad depth. It's unbelievable. Burnley... I was saying a couple of weeks ago how they've got so much fight in their team, but they did not display that against West Brom in the slightest. Not one bit, I'm afraid. And I think that this is going to be too much for Burnley. I think Manchester City should get a very good result against Burnley. I'm not sure whether they will, but they really should be getting a very good result here. Man City, I'm going to go for it. It's going to be a 2-0 victory. I think Burnley, if you lost like that against West Brom and your defence turns up like it did against West Brom, where it looked like they just didn't know what they were doing for once. They just didn't seem to know what they were doing. Tom Heaton's doing the best he can in goal. It wasn't happening. They got beat 4-0 by West Brom. Man City, I'm going for 2-0. Just because of their recent performances, but they could smash this out of the park. Up next, we've got Hull City versus West Brom, and Hull, they picked up a couple of wins. They've got the same amount of wins in the last 6 as West Brom. They got a good victory against Southampton. Obviously, the other one was against Bristol as well, but they got a bad loss against Sunderland, got beat 3-0. Whereas on the other hand, West Brom are looking pretty good. They got a 2-1 against Leicester and a 4-0 against Burnley. Now, and you look at the losses that West Brom actually had against Liverpool and Man City. They got a draw against Tottenham and a draw against Sunderland. They're no slouches, maybe apart from Sunderland in that one. No offence, Sunderland. But you look at the teams that West Brom were playing, and the ones that they lost against were, like, you know, the top teams in the league right now. Hull, on the other hand, I just don't think they're going to have enough here. I think West Brom are going to be riding a nice crest of confidence and ability that they've got now. They are that performance against Burnley was unbelievable. Everyone thought that game was going to be boring, but there was goals in that game, and they were really, really good goals as well. And I think that's only going to put West Brom on the front foot, and I think that Hull will get beat 2-0 at least. Up next, we've got Leicester, the champions of last year, versus Middlesbrough, and Leicester just cannot do it in the Premier League. Don't know what's going on. They're 2 points above the relegation zone, 4 points above 19th place in the Premier League. They are not in a very good position right now. They're doing well in the Champions League, that's one thing, but they cannot. There's no way that they can go throughout this whole Premier League flirting with relegation while getting into the last 16 of the Champions League. It's unbelievable stuff. Middlesbrough, on the other hand, only have 1 win in their last 6. Now, let's look at the teams that they did play in those last 6, though. They lost 1-0 against Chelsea, draw against Manchester City, beat Bournemouth 2-0. They got a draw against Arsenal, lost against Watford, and a draw against West Ham. Now, West Ham possibly aren't the highest quality team in the Premier League at the moment, but still, they had some tough opposition, whereas Leicester, they got beat by Watford, got beat by West Brom. They got a win against Crystal Palace, draw against Tottenham, draw in the Champions League, and then beat Club Brugge 2-1. Leicester, they're not even scraping things in the Premier League anymore. They're just losing games. They're losing far too many games, and I think that Middlesbrough put in a good performance against Manchester City. They really did. They probably deserved a little bit more out of that game than they actually got. Against Chelsea, Chelsea are a quality team, and Middlesbrough, they didn't take their chances. If they'd have took their chances, they may have got a draw out of that one, but they didn't in that one either. I think Middlesbrough are going to beat Leicester, and I think it's mainly because Leicester have been found out in the Premier League. They can't continue like they did last season. They're not blowing teams away. They're not catching them on the counter. They can't do that really, really difficult defending that they were putting up against strikers last season in the box. They can't do it anymore, and they don't seem to have a plan B. Middlesbrough, I just think Middlesbrough, I think they'll get a 1-0. But I just don't see Leicester winning. I just really don't. And it's unfortunate, really, to see. I didn't think we were going to see a fall of champions like we did with Chelsea. But this is actually probably a little bit worse. Or it could be a little bit worse if they drop a couple more places, which I think that they will do this weekend. Up next is my team, Liverpool, at home to Sunderland. And obviously, yes, we got a draw against Southampton. A lot of chances that we had that we just didn't take or were saved. Goalkeeper had a good game, Fraser Forster. They had a very good defence as well. Look, games like that are going to happen for Liverpool where we cannot put it away. And as long as the defence puts in the effort and the defensive display they put in against Southampton as well was very, very good. I think Matip was most people's man of the match in that one. Lovren as well. You know, unbelievable stuff. I thought it was very, very good. Another clean sheet, but whenever we get a clean sheet, looks like we get them when draws, because as you can see, the Man United result at the bottom of that list there, that was our other clean sheet in the Premier League. I think that we'll get the win here because Sunderland are doing okay. They've got 2 wins against Bournemouth and they got a win against Hull. And it was a very good performance against Hull as well. The problem that I've got, obviously, with Sunderland is Jermaine Defoe. Jermaine Defoe, wherever he plays, seems to like to score against Liverpool. And it's one of those, I said weeks ago, I'm not going to keep predicting that we'll get a clean sheet or here or there. I think we will concede a goal. It's just we've got a goal conceding in us. If we don't, bonus. But what we need to make sure that we do is that we score goals. Now, the one thing that I might change in this game is maybe give someone like a Daniel Sturridge up top, get that defence, get someone like that with the likes of Mane, Coutinho. Lallana's, I think, he's going to be out for this game and apparently out for the next 2 games after this as well. So it depends what they do there because we really, really missed Lallana in the Southampton game. We still created chances, but we missed that bit of sharpness that he would bring to our game. We missed that greatly. So it depends what sort of system they're going to go for. Are they going to change things up? Maybe bring in Origi, Sturridge, something like that. Drop Firmino back into more of an advanced central midfielder. I'm not entirely sure on that one. Whichever way we go, I think that we can get the victory here. And I think if I'm looking at it, yes, Sunderland are putting in some good performances right now, and they may cause a couple of problems at our back line, but I'm going to go for a 3-1 victory for Liverpool because I think if we're playing at home, whenever we play at home, we seem to play quite well. So I'm confident that we'll be able to pick out the victory here, and I'm going to go 3-1 for Liverpool. Next up, we've got Swansea versus Crystal Palace, and look at the form for both of those teams. Crystal Palace are, I think, now from what the stats that I saw, is that they've actually, in all of the football leagues, have the worst points collection in 2016, which is pretty damn awful. Now, you can say what you like about, obviously, the likes of Newcastle and such like that. Alan Pardew, he does seems to do this. He'll have these really good runs, and he had a great run when he started with Crystal Palace. They were getting well up the table, and they were scoring loads of goals when he first took over. Now, you look at this, and yes, they have played some pretty difficult opposition. Liverpool and Manchester City most notably, but Leicester have been getting beat left, right and centre by different teams. Leicester picked up a 3-1 victory there. West Ham had a pretty awful start to the season. They picked up a 1-0 victory against Palace. Burnley picked up a win. Everton got a draw as well. That's probably better for Crystal Palace on the run of things as well. It's not good enough. When you spend 32 million on a striker, and I'm not criticising Benteke at all, I think it's the way the team is being ran by Alan Pardew. It is not good enough that Crystal Palace are on this slump right now with the players that they have in that team. It's not good enough. Swansea, on the other hand, aren't doing too much better. They've got 1 less loss than Crystal Palace in the last 6 games, and it just isn't good enough. Now, the difference with Swansea, their losses have come against Arsenal, Liverpool, Stoke and Man United. And Stoke, when they were starting to turn around their season, that's really when they got their result there. So, I mean, Swansea, they've been coming up against, in ways, better opposition than Crystal Palace have. Getting a draw against Everton and a draw against Watford is okay. But at the end of the day, Swansea, I think, are going to be looking for a victory here, and Crystal Palace look like they'll probably give it to them because Crystal Palace they'll score goals. Look at the losses that Crystal Palace have, and they're scoring goals in most of them, but they're still losing. They went 2-2 against Liverpool, and we still won 4-2. They lose against Burnley 3-2. They get a goal against Man City, but Man City managed to score another goal as well. It's not good enough from Crystal Palace, and I think Crystal Palace are going to hand it over to Swansea, and Swansea I think are going to nick it as a 1-0 and maybe kickstart them getting out of that relegation battle, perhaps. But I think Swansea are going to get it as a 1-0. Next up, we've got a game that will probably be billed as one of those of the weekend, like the Manchester United versus Arsenal game, which turned out to be a complete, pretty much snooze fest. Chelsea versus Tottenham. Chelsea at home against Tottenham. Chelsea, I mean, it's unbelievable. Take out that cup game against West Ham. They haven't conceded in the Premier League for, I can't even remember how much now. They've scored loads of goals. Yes, they only got a 1-0 against Middlesbrough, but they didn't really need to do a great deal more. Tottenham, on the other hand, lost against Monaco in midweek in the Champions League. Crashed out of the Champions League. That's them out with a game to go. They got a draw against Arsenal. Yes, they won against West Ham with Harry Kane. Draw against Leicester, and they lost against Liverpool in the EFL Cup as well. Lost against Leverkusen as well. Look, out on the run of things, there's no bones about it. I'm not going to do the biggest prediction of this because it's going to be like, oh, it's a massive game of the weekend. I think Chelsea have got this in the bag. But even though it's going to be a derby game, Tottenham, I just don't think they're going to have it in them. They're not going to be able to. Yes, Harry Kane may get a goal, but it's going to be a very, very difficult task because look at the people that haven't been able to score against Chelsea. Leicester, Manchester United. Now I know Leicester haven't been doing very well, but they've got some like good strikers on their day. Man United got absolutely torn apart by Chelsea. Southampton have got some good strikers as well. Everton got torn apart. They've got good strikers as well. Middlesbrough, yes, they got beat 1-0. That's probably, you know, Middlesbrough did put a good effort in that day. Tottenham, they got Harry Kane, who can do some good things. He can do some good things like he did against West Ham. It's not going to be enough against that Chelsea defence, the midfield, and the front line that Chelsea have got. I think this is going to be quite a comfortable one for Chelsea at home, especially, and I think it's going to be a 2-0 victory for Chelsea. Coming up next, we've got Watford at home to Stoke, and Watford on their last travel out, they got, I say last travel out, they were at home then as well. Against Leicester, they picked up a 2-1 victory, which recovered them quite nicely after the international break and the beating that they got from Liverpool, which was a 6-1. But Watford, pretty much, apart from that loss, they haven't been doing too badly. On the flip side of that, Stoke, yes, they got beat 1-0 by Bournemouth, which for me was a shock result. I didn't see it coming. Got a draw against West Ham before the international break, but we're on quite a nice run of form before then, getting a 3-1 Swansea, 2-0 Hull, and 2-0 against Sunderland. I think Stoke have got a lot of quality. I think these two will even themselves out, though. Like, Stoke have got a lot of quality at the front of the pitch if Shaqiri's fit and stuff like that. Watford, on the other hand, have got the likes of Ighalo and Deeney, and I can't remember the midfielder's name who runs things for them, really. Can't remember, it's gone. But anyway, they've got a lot of quality as well, and I think that they're going to even themselves out on this one, and I think it's going to be a score draw of 1-1. Up next, we've got Arsenal versus Bournemouth, and Arsenal 50-50 by the looks of it. They're getting draws in their last 3 games in all competitions, and then they also had quite a good one. You know, Ludogorets, Sunderland they won, and Reading in the Cup. But getting a draw against Tottenham, getting a draw against Man United somehow, and then throwing it away against PSG. Look, it's one of those at the moment. Bournemouth are no joke of a team either. Yes, they lost against Sunderland and Middlesbrough. They beat Stoke, though, and Stoke are not a team to be messed with at the best of times as well. Stoke are quite a good team to come up against, got a lot of quality, as I was saying just before. Look, Bournemouth have got it in them to beat a team like Arsenal. They really have. Arsenal cannot be walking into this game expecting an easy game, especially after their performances over the last couple of weeks. Yes, look at the quality of the teams they're playing. Tottenham, Manchester United, while they're not doing very well in the league itself, they're sitting 6th in the league right now. But at the end of the day, they've still got a lot of quality. Man United were running that game for most of it. They just didn't close it out enough. They played very well. Arsenal got a freak goal. It was one of those. They brought Giroud on. Oxlade-Chamberlain gets a cross in. Bang. Header. But they threw it away against PSG, in my opinion. They had the game at 2-1, I believe it was. And then they threw it away again. Look, it's one of those. Arsenal have got it in them at the moment. And I know it's their dreaded month of November where everything seems to go tits up for Arsenal. And I don't think they're going to get a positive result here. I think Bournemouth, and I'm going to go out on a limb here, and Arsenal fans probably won't like it, but I think Bournemouth are going to, even though it's at the Emirates, I think the Bournemouth are going to get a 2-1 victory because I just don't see Arsenal being clinical enough to close out a game right now. Up next, we've got Manchester United versus West Ham. And Man United are starting to turn around there. You know, they've got 3 wins in their last 6. Beat Feyenoord yesterday, 4-0. So, you know, Mkhitaryan has come back into that and looked pretty good as well. They did look very good against Arsenal. They just couldn't close out the game. Got a good victory over Swansea before the international break. On the flip side, West Ham, their change in form seems to have gone back a little bit, okay? They lost against Everton, draw against Stoke, and lost in dramatic fashion against Tottenham. They absolutely just... How you throw it away with the last 5 to 7 minutes of a game, unbelievable. And I think that Man United are coming into this game looking a lot better than West Ham will be. And Man United should be looking for nothing less than a victory in this one. They're going to be a bit confident. They'll be gutted about the Arsenal result that they had because they were running that game. Arsenal weren't really in that game until like they had their first shot on target in like the 89th minute or something, Giroud header. Aside from that, they go away. Feyenoord, they beat them 4-0. Now, obviously, Feyenoord aren't going to be like the type of quality you're getting in the Premier League all the time, but West Ham haven't necessarily been Premier League quality this season either. And I think that this is Man United's for the taking. And I do believe, while West Ham do have some quality players, they're not turning up right now. And I think that Man United will get a 2-1 victory. And last but by no means least, Southampton versus Everton. Everton are not in a very good vein of form at all. They've got 3 draws, 2 losses and 1 victory in their last 6. That victory being against West Ham. Other than that, they got smashed by Chelsea and a draw against Swansea. And Swansea haven't been the best in this league this season either. So that's not looking too good against for Everton. Southampton, while they started this league very well, they started very well in terms of their defence and going forward. The likes of Charlie Austin, Shane Long, Nathan Redmond, they were being very, very creative, very, very good. Since the Inter game in the Europa League that they had on the 3rd of November, lost against Hull, they drew against Liverpool, and they lost against Sparta Prague last night. Not looking too good for Southampton, I'll be honest. Everton have got to do so much more going forward. The likes of Lukaku, Balassi, Deulofeu, if they're playing. Look, they've got to do so much more. They've got quality. Ross Barkley, they've got so much quality and talent. They've got to be doing so much more. They really have to be doing so much more. Southampton have a lot of quality going forward as well, but at the moment it looks like they're at a sticking point in their season, that they're not being able to put away the chances that they're creating. They created a lot of chances against Liverpool. Charlie Austin had a good headed chance that he glanced wide. It's just not going in for them at the moment, and I'm thinking, the way that both these teams are at the moment, I'm going to sit on the fence a little bit, and I think it could actually be a snore draw, and I think it could be a 0-0, and that's what I'm going to go for this one. And that is it for the Premier League preview for this week. Hopefully, look, say what you like in the comments. I'd like to get your views as well. Just let me know what your team is, who your team is, and what you think the result will be for them. I'm looking forward to this weekend. I think it's going to be a good one. I'm going to chill out, watch some football, whatever I can find. Please remember, if someone can find me the Liverpool stream, that would be absolutely, or somewhere to watch it, somehow to watch it. If it's an app on iPad or on Android, whatever, or on a computer, I don't care. Just some way that I can watch it, please. That would be most amazing. So if you've liked the video, please drop a like on the video. Subscribe if you're new around here for so much more. Thank you ever so much for watching, and I'll catch you later.